we know, given Mike's experience, he's committed to keeping communities safe, and he's committed to working with victims. Under Mike's leadership, we know there will be victims that will be helped in their journey, and that's one of the reasons, that's the main reason why we're here today, is we know how our experience went with Mike, and we know that other victims will get the benefit of that with Mike as the Lake County State's Attorney. We consider Mike a victim's advocate, and the people of Lake County deserve to know that, and they need to know that Mike cares about victims.
We've had many friends that have had experiences in other states and other counties, and their lives as the parents of a murder victim is it was greatly impacted by the way they were treated by the state's attorney. And as horrible as the whole thing was, the whole experience was, I think if the state's attorneys would treat everyone the way we were treated by Mike, their experience would be far, far less severe. There would be much less trauma to the victims' families.
Our first meeting with Mike occurred days after our son had been killed, and our world was spinning out of control. Not only did we have to deal with our son's death, we also had to deal with the fact that his life was taken from him by someone that had wanted to do harm to him. And that was very difficult for us to grasp. We did have and continue to have strong support from our family and friends, but our first meeting with Mike, and quite frankly, we were very surprised when we walked into the Lake County State's Attorney's office and were invited into Mike's office. I did not expect to be meeting with the Lake County State's Attorney. I thought I would be meeting with a member of the prosecution team. When Mike sat down at the table, you could tell that he was very compassionate. He understood where we were at. And, here again, I think that comes from his past experience. He was very caring and compassionate towards us, and he was looking to understand our entire situation. The other aspect to this is, Mike reassured us that with the case going forward, we would have a commitment from them to provide all the necessary resources so that justice would be provided. And our first meeting with Mike, I came out of that meeting with a ray of hope. Our experience, we had never had any involvement in the criminal justice system. We did not know what to expect. And Mike gave us some reassurance that we will get through this, but we also understood that it was going to take a great deal of patience to get through it.
This is a job that really needs somebody with prosecutorial experience and experience within a state's attorney's office. And Mike has all of that. He has all of that experience, as well as the foresight to have his staff gain knowledge from that experience as well and utilize it as well. We were also very fortunate to become basically very close with our prosecutorial team, and they kept us apprised of our situation along the way within the criminal justice system. And that alone is reassuring, because when you don't know something about something so important, it can really gnaw at you, especially when something happens to your child. Even though David was a grown man, he was still our only son, our first child. And our whole family was very appreciative of the fact that not only Mike kept them on their toes, from what I hear from afterwards. He would pop in and say, how's that case going? How's that case going? You know, periodically. He also had the foresight to really have his team and everyone that works for him look to that as well, and to help the families, because it is a very tough system to understand if you aren't there. And we're both educated people and have made our way through the business world our whole lives, but the criminal justice system is one all of its own, and understanding the process was very helpful with lessening the impact of how traumatizing it was to us and our family and our girls. Knowing what was going on was very comforting.
Unimaginable happens to you, and by no means would I wish what we have been through on anyone. I wouldn't even wish it on my worst enemy. But in the event that it happens to you, know that Mike Nerheim has your back as a victim. Know that, and it's very important. The victims run the risk of not only having to deal with the loss of an individual, but they also can run the risk of being victimized once again by their experience or their perceived experience within the court system. And we did not really learn about how good our team was until we started attending support groups, grief retreats that were geared towards homicide victim survivors. We attended an annual conference for a national organization, and we heard stories. And the stories we heard were unlike anything that we were experiencing with Lake County. So we knew that we had something special here. And you know, I feel so strongly about what Mike has done within the Lake County State's Attorney's Office. As if there was a national program that they could model this off of, they should take a look at the processes, the controls, the culture within that organization. And there could be a lot more benefit to victims all across the country. It's been a very moving experience for us to see how we were treated, and then to listen to how others have been treated. And it's night and day.
It's nice to see you both. How are you?
We're well. How are you?
Good. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
We're more than happy to do this because we know deep down in our hearts that there will be other victims that will be benefited from you with your being in the Lake County State's Attorney's Office. You know, as I look at your office and the team that was put together to help us through our journey, they were phenomenal, and not only very professional, very skilled litigators, but the compassion that they showed us throughout our ordeal is not something that was done just for us. We know that. We know that it's within the organization, and this is an organization. You know, when this occurred, I think you were just beginning your second term, so you were in there for just over 4 years, and it's a culture that you've led. In my work experience, I've dealt with a lot of businesses, and I'm a true believer that the culture within an organization begins at the leadership. And I know through our dealings with the prosecution team that there is a great deal of respect for all that you have done within the organization. And I just feel very strongly that the people of Lake County need to know that, and that is something that really doesn't come out with any kind of campaign literature or anything like that. So that's one of the reasons why we're here. So.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you saying that, and you know, you have such an amazing family, and I know there was many court appearances that you were at. You always had such a huge group of your support network that came with you every time, and that says a lot about you and your family as well, that everybody pulled together, and not just for a couple court appearances, not just for the trial or the sentencing, but you guys were in it all the way through. And you know, as you said, I'm so lucky to have such a great team of people in our office that really do care, and you've seen it, and it's something that can't be faked. You know, it's something that has to be real, and it has to come from the heart. And you know, they take these cases personally, and you know, it's just as important to them as it is to me. And like I said, I'm lucky to have such a great team, and I'm always sorry to meet people like you under the circumstances that we met. But you know, I appreciate all that you've done. And even after the case, you know, you wrote up that paper as a way to help other people that have gone through what you've gone through. I know you've helped other victims through the support group, but I want you to know that I'm sharing what you've provided across the country. So just when I came on, you were talking about kind of spreading the word around the country, and just a few weeks ago, the American Bar Association commissioned a victims commission to sort of redo all the work that's been done. It hadn't been done since the 80s for victims around the country, and I was asked to be a representative of the National District Attorneys Association on that commission. So I'll be representing the voices of prosecutors all over the United States on that, and I'm definitely going to share your words with them, because people need to hear that. And your feedback was outstanding.
That was an excellent choice on their part.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and you know, from our standpoint, the way the prosecution team dealt with us at every court session, you know, first of all, we had concerns because the defendant at that point in time was out on bail. We had concerns about running into him in the hallway or in the elevator or wherever. And it was the prosecution team that came up with the system. They said, come to our office first, and then we'll just walk over. Before, you know, when we would get to the office, the prosecution team would meet with us. They would take, you know, 5 minutes or so, say, you know, this is what you can expect to happen today. They told us that. They asked us if we had any questions, anything that was of concern to us. They addressed it. We would then go to the court session. Afterwards, they would meet with us again, ask us if we had any questions.
Which we often did.
Yes, many of us had.
Many of us, not just us.
They would ask us questions, or you know, ask us if we had any questions, and they made us feel as though we were the only case. And we know they have a high caseload, but by gosh, they took the time to meet with us, to answer our questions. And every conversation, every time we left the courthouse, we were told, if you have any questions, you can email us, give us a call. And our victim witness coordinator, she was our guardian angel. And
she was awesome, better than great, actually, just wonderful.
I would either give her a call or email her a question. I would be expecting a response, you know, maybe when the prosecution team had some time, typically it was addressed the same day. And it well exceeded my expectations in terms of the responsiveness. And our witness coordinator also advised us early on to, you know, begin formulating a victim's impact statement. And the victim impact statements that Dolores and I read at sentencing, mine lasted maybe, I don't know, 9 or 10 minutes, but it took 2.5 years to come up with, because I took our victim witness coordinator's advice, was taking notes and revising things throughout the 2.5 years. And, you know, there was a release in that. There was something healing about doing it over that period of time, as opposed to just trying to rush through it at the last possible minute. So.
Well, you put it really well. They are angels. We're lucky to have such a great core of victim witness coordinators in our office, and we have per capita more than any other office in Illinois, and that's something that I certainly attribute to the state's attorneys before me that kind of set the bar there. But that's something that I wanted to carry over, because I know that when people come to court, it's a scary process. It's an intimidating process. Victims oftentimes feel very frustrated, and they feel like they're not heard, and they have lots of questions. It's a foreign environment, different language, different terminology, and it does, I know, feel like everything is about the defendant, and there's really not a lot of attention paid to victims, and victims feel it's too easy for them to feel left out. And that's why we really try to encourage having more victim coordinators and having them very active, which ours are wonderful. I mean, they're all, to a person, they are all angels, and they do amazing work. And I also, I like the attorneys to be involved as well, and not just have all that back and forth fall on the victim coordinator, but they also need to be working directly with the families so they can help to build those relationships. Because, as you know, unfortunately, in cases like these, they tend to go on for quite a while, far too long, in my opinion. Right. But as you've seen, we're usually ready to go pretty soon, but there's a lot of delays in our court system that can be very frustrating. I know they're frustrating for us, so I can't imagine how it feels to be the family and victims having to go through that for months and years in your case. So, well, thank you both. I really do.
Yeah,
I can't tell you how much I
welcome.
appreciate it.